What up, folks? Welcome back. Hollow Knight Silksong is out, so I imagine a lot of you are playing that. You can let me know down in the comments below. While we're waiting for some media for soundtrack-related materials from that to come out, we can look at some older music. So this is Grimm from Hollow Knight, the Grimm Troupe. I'm excited. Let's go. All right, so the piece is super short. It's 2 minutes and 18 seconds long. So let's listen to it twice. First time, all the way through, no stops. Second time, we'll go back and we'll do a light musical analysis on it because we'll be familiar with it at that point. Okay, here we go. Cool. Oh. The crescendo triplet brass figure. Yeah, man. Oh, timpani player is going. Wow, what a resolution. Of course. Christopher Larkin. Yeah, man. Ascensions, even more. Nice drum fill. Wow, there, I knew it would go fast. That is awesome. Christopher Larkin, I'm not surprised whatsoever. Really fun music. I'm not like super familiar with all his works or anything, but from the limited ones that I've heard, they've been a lot of fun and they've been kind of similar to this construction. Okay, so let's go back and listen to the second time. We're obviously going to talk about it way more because we just kind of listened to that first time. That's the input there. Obviously, you kind of have the composition feels like kind of like an A section, and then we get the B section, which is made up of what we heard in the A, but it gets super heavy. The drums come in, the guitar is there, and the feel. I mean, really, it's the same, but the feel is just so much more like tangibly like metal in comparison to what we had the first time. So really cool piece of music. I also feel like the ascension sequence, we keep elevating. You think you're at the top and then it goes even more. And then we get some cool, got some like drum fill that brings us in. And then we arrive. All the time we've had this like church organ thing happening. So it feels very cathedral-like and kind of spooky with the choir elements that are going on in the background. So we'll listen to the second time and chop it up quite a bit here and just, see what's going on. Everything is good. So in the first 7 seconds, you kind of get a feel of where this is going to go because all the components are pretty much given to us right here. The moving like fugue-like notes, it just feels so amazing to listen to organ players play this kind of with the whoa drone that's going on. But if you listen down, you can hear just really faint hi-hat moving notes. That's cool. Bum, bum, 2 descending pitches, and then bum, bum, bum. It gets a lot heavier in how that works. So obviously, I'm sure you heard all this stuff the first time, but it's kind of fun just to talk about, to notice the tiny little things that are going on. Yeah, that's my favorite part because you get but cha cha cha, all those offbeat hits, and then da 2 3 4, the cool triplet crescendoing brass figure, and it just. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be. So we're 14 seconds in. Maybe we'll round up from the 7. After 14 seconds, you really get a feel for what is happening here, and it's just cool. Let's grab the crescendoing triplet figure here that brings us into where this drop is gonna hit. That's scary. Ba ba da dee ba ba, big chord. Another big chord. That's so cool. It sounds menacing, man. Oh. So ba ba da da ba ba, big chord, repeat the figure, ba 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 ba, and then da 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 da. Nice descending lick there. The other thing that needs to go, we have to bring some attention to now is the timpani player, because as the piece goes on, the timpani player stays super involved, and I think for me is probably my favorite part. Probably not for a lot of people, but timpani is such a cool instrument that you're just like, it's the low end, it's the tuba player of the percussion section. There's so much control and there's so much demand for intonation and pitch control, depending on how complicated. A lot of times maybe, pieces could be as simple as having, boom, 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 like 2 notes, and you don't really have to do much retuning of the drums or moving around or having a lot of like demanding parts. But, when this piece is a little bit more active, and it's cool because it applies such a circular big round sound underneath instead of like synthesized bass tones, if that makes sense. So like this is kind of like the old school 808 drum, like it just has a different feel to it. So I'll probably bring the timpani player up a couple more times, but just listen how effective that is on this this descending part here. It's so killer. So it's like Christopher Larkin, cool ideas. This thematic material being built around ba ba da 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 dee. You can see where the contour in the figure is da 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 ba ba ba, and then we're getting these different types of fills that respond to that. So that's just, it's cool writing within the phrasing. That's what should be happening. We're just talking about what actually is happening. So it's very enjoyable to listen to. Really cool brass and vocal combinations there. But that time, ba, 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 and we're about to go, bum. But it's about what's going on in the woodwinds and string passages underneath that, though, because the melody part is so obvious. That's like the highest part of what you're going to hear within the mix. But if you look at how everything else interacts with it, that's where the cool little details are. They ascend that whole time. Oh, we keep going. That's interesting. And there's our resolution. So really, that's where I probably should have stopped that phrase to talk about that instead of the micro components within it. But that's really the mountain right there. The contour within that ascension up to the tip, to the peak. You have all that happening, ba 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 ba, and we keep going. Then we go up, and then there's more. There's 2 more ascension sequences, and that whole time you're getting all these moving notes underneath. So, with that being said, sorry, I shouldn't have stopped it in the middle of that phrasing. We'll go back so you can experience that again, but try to listen to everything except the main melodic components there. Listen to everything that's going on between the strings, the moving note, the timpani, just everything that's supporting the ascending figure, because the ascending figure is so implied. Ba-da-da-da. We get that chord right there. That feels like we're home, but we're not home because it's a little bit deceptive. We keep pushing through the progression. And right here. It fools us. So cool. And then now we move into the next part. Obviously, so the vocal part, ba ba da dee ba da da da, all that's going on there. That takes over a lot more control versus mainly the cathedral organ experience. So right away, as we approach the B section, which is really just a variance of A, we already have a lot of cool differences going on. Obviously, the guitar is going to drop in, and the drums come in, and they play the double kick. But we'll talk about the double kick in a second and why it's so fun. So, you're hearing familiar material, right? We've heard these lines, this phrasing before, but now you've got underneath it, which is kind of funny because the phrase ba 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 bee ba 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 ba, that's pretty slow. It's very long. It's very legato. It's very smooth feeling. But underneath is kind of the opposite. So this is a really well done staging of like two opposites that are going to layer on top of each other really well. I mean, also it helps that rhythm is perfectly in time with where everything is going. So metrically, it's like, oh yeah, it's just, it's just a 4-to-1 ratio. We get it. Like that's of course it's gonna work. It's kind of like when you listen to like mashups like on TikTok, whatever, and they're like, who would have thought this song would work with this song? It's like, well, yeah, so the song you've taken with the lyrics, it's usually like some hip hop song and they pick one that has like less tonal, like there's not really a melody, it's more about the flow of the vocals. And then they put it on a song that's in 4/4. Like, oh yeah, they work. Yeah, no kidding, they work because it's in the same time signature, and there is not, like the song they usually choose is pretty wide open as far as the flow, the progression. So the rhythm of the vocals works over it really well. So it's like, no kidding. So it's kind of a similar thing. Like, yeah, of course this works here. So it's fun to listen to though. Check we got. So all very, very similar concepts to the first version of the A. We get the that phrasing in the drum fill. That's cool. And then on the last one. So you get tiny little variances that aren't totally, that's not that much, it's cool, but it's just the drummer laying it down. I feel like maybe the hi-hat gets a little bit more wet in the mix. I'm not told. We'll talk about it if it happens. No, I think it sounds like that. That fill works really well, though. Oh yeah, that's a gnarly fill right there. Let's get that happened like at 208. Let's get that. Let's get that again. Let's go drums. Yeah, man. And that like releases into it almost feels like an airy kind of gong / suspended cymbal release there. So that's really cool. It's a great example of, I'm fairly confident everyone on their second listen could hear probably every single layer. It's not super difficult to pick out what's going on, but Christopher Larkin is good at giving us really great accessible music. So I think that's killer. And I've seen, Hollow Knight, I've seen like playthroughs here and there, a couple streams. I myself have never played it, but obviously with the hype of a new game, I've thought about it. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't jump in on this. So you can tell me like what's going on. I'm assuming boss related music, maybe not. I don't know. I know it's a side scroller and visually it looks really unique with how like the colors are presented and the character just like really pops on the screen. So at first when I heard this, I was like, whoa, there's some intense moments here, but that's cool. Anyway, that's what I think about it. You can let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is DrumRollTony. Catch me when I'm live on Twitch. You can find a link for my socials down in the video description below. Please and thank you. Click the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the next video. I appreciate you being here. YouTube thinks you want to watch one of these two videos next. Have a great day. Take it easy. Bye-bye.